What's up, YouTube? It's your number one fat girl here, and I was gonna just do a little reading from Lamentations. I have a really good Bible. I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person, and this is the New Revised Standard Version. I prefer the old King James Version, but they took them all out of print. The New Oxford Annotated Bible with the Apocrypha, which are supposedly the missing books of the Bible. I have allergies, so you have to excuse me. Read from Lamentations, and it gives a little like a preface to each book in the Bible. And it says here that Lamentations is a small psalter, that's Psalter, of communal laments over Jerusalem, following its destructions by the Babylonians in 587 or 586 BC. These psalms have been traditionally ascribed to Jeremiah because of 2 Chronicles 35:25. But those laments were for the death of Josiah, not for the desolation of Jerusalem. The thought and diction are sufficiently unlike Jeremiah's to make his authorship unlikely, and this is the author's opinion. The first four chapters are alphabetic acrostics, with a stanza for each of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. So that's something to look at. And the fifth has the same number of verses as the alphabet. All were composed or adapted for public recitation on days of fasting and mourning. So they were adapted from its original so they could use them for their purposes, which the Bible does anyways. Notably that of the 9th of Ab, which is August, which commemorated the disaster of 587-586 BC. Chapters 1, 2, and 4 are informed dirges over the dead city. The elegies limping 3-2 meter, 3 beats followed by 2 beats, and that's poetry, is recognizable even in translation, together with the exclamatory how in the opening line as an expression of grief, seen in 2 Samuel 1:25-27 and Isaiah 1:21 as well. In chapter 3, the sadness of the desolate people and reflection upon the meaning of the disaster are voiced by an individual. Chapter 5, in its form and language, recalls the liturgies for use in time of national trouble, such as, looks like Psalm 74 and 79. The common theme of all the poems is the agony of the people. How appropriate. The apparent desertion of Zion by God. I don't feel that way. And the hope that God will yet restore a humbled and repentant Israel. Lamentations may be the work of one or several authors speaking out of the dreadful situation of the inhabitants of Jerusalem following the overthrow of the city. And yeah, I have my opinions on all that. Lamentations chapter 1. How lonely sits the city that once was full of people. How like a widow she has become. She that was great among the nations. She that was a princess among the provinces has become a vassal. She weeps bitterly in the night, with tears on her cheeks. Among all her lovers, she has no one to comfort her. Sounds like me. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They have become her enemies. Judah has gone into exile with suffering and hard servitude. She lives now among the nations and finds no resting place. I think of that as my mother. Her pursuers have all overtaken her in the midst of her distress. The roads to Zion mourn, for no one comes to the festivals. The roads to both of us mourn, because no one comes to the festivals. All her gates are desolate. Her priests groan. Her young girls grieve. Wow, this is so true. I'm glad I read this. And her lot is bitter. This reminds me, like, it's me and my mom, basically. Her foes have become the masters. Her enemies prosper, because the Lord has made her suffer for the multitude of her transgressions. Her children have gone away, captives before the foe. Wow. I left my mom, supposedly to come and, try to get things together because I wanted to be able to prepare for her retirement. She's 70 now and has no retirement, no way to retire. In addition to that, I was falsely accused and convicted, so the enemy did capture me. Wow. From daughter Zion has departed all her majesty. Her princes have become like stags that find no pasture. They fled without strength before the pursuer. Jerusalem remembers, in the days of her affliction and wandering, all the precious things that were hers in days of old, when her people fell into the hands of the foe, and there was no one to help her. The foe looked on mocking over her downfall. That's what happened to me. Wow. Jerusalem sinned grievously, so she has become a mockery. All who honored her despise her, for they have seen her nakedness. I've become a mockery because I'm natural, but I've always been in my natural state. But I think prior legal, I probably would never just be doing YouTube au natural. But it's like after that, I really don't care. Her uncleanness was in her skirts. She took no thought of her future. And it's like her downfall was appalling, with none to comfort her. O Lord, look at my affliction, for the enemy has triumphed. Enemies have stretched out their hands over her precious things. She has even seen the nations invade her sanctuary, those whom you forbade to enter your congregation. All her people groan as they search for bread. They trade their treasures for food to revive their strength. Look, O Lord, and see how worthless I have become. Is it nothing to you, all you who pass by? Look and see if there is any sorrow like my sorrow, which was brought upon me, which the Lord inflicted on the day of his fierce anger. From on high he sent fire, it went deep into my bones. He spread a net for my feet. He turned me back, and he has left me stunned, faint all day long. My transgressions were bound into a yoke. By his hand they were fastened together. They weigh on my neck, sapping my strength. The Lord handed me over to those whom I cannot withstand. The Lord has rejected all my warriors in the midst of me. He proclaimed a time against me to crush my young men. The Lord has trodden as in a winepress, the virgin daughter Judah. For these things I weep, my eyes flow with tears, for a comforter is far from me, one to revive my courage. My children are desolate, for the enemy has prevailed. Zion stretches out her hands, but there is no one to comfort her. The Lord has commanded against Jacob that his neighbors should become his foes. Jerusalem has become a filthy thing among them. The Lord is in the right, for I have rebelled against his word. But hear, all you prophets, and behold my suffering. My young women and young men have gone into captivity. I called to my lovers, but they deceived me. My priests and elders perished in the city, while seeking food to revive their strength. See, O Lord, how distressed I am. My stomach churns. My heart is wrung within me, because I have been very rebellious. In the street the sword bereaves, in the house it is like death. They heard how I was groaning, with no one to comfort me. All my enemies heard of my trouble. They are glad that you have done it. Bring on the day you have announced, and let them be as I am. Let all their evil doing come before you, and deal with them as you have dealt with me, because of all my transgressions, for my groans are many, and my heart is faint. You know, and I love my mother dearly, and I don't know what to do. It's just, the thing that happened with my brother, it crushed me, and I think it would have been easier, I guess, if my mom hated me too, but she doesn't. So it's like now I feel guilt because I didn't go home, and now I can't go home, and I may not even have a home, so I don't know. I mean, and my mom is a good person, and so am I. The black ugly version of my mother, but very good people we are. So, but anyways, that's chapter 1 of Lamentations. I don't think I can read chapter 2, but it was very valid to me, and it was so funny because I haven't picked up the Bible in like forever, and it was like this Bible was like way up near the ceiling, and it's just like I felt like a calling, like I needed to. I was drawn to it, so, and it fits, so that's good.